For the past 9 years, I have been tracking grocery supply chains, talking to warehouse managers, and watching what actually disappears during disruptions versus what sits untouched on shelves. While everyone is refreshing the same panic buying lists from 2020, I have been quietly documenting something far more important. March 2026 is the final scheduled shipment date for 12 grocery items that major chains are quietly discontinuing. Number 9 is sitting at your local discount grocer right now for under $4, and most people walk right past it because they have no idea what is coming. The problem is that when everyone reads the same headlines and buys the same stuff, that is exactly what gets hoarded first. But these 12 items, most shoppers do not even know they exist. Back in February 2020, I watched the pasta aisle get cleared in 90 minutes. But the bulk grain section 2 aisles over was fully stocked for another 11 days. That taught me everything I need to know about crowd behavior and real preparedness. If you want to know what smart people stock when nobody is watching, you are in the right place. Hit subscribe right now because this information does not stay relevant forever, and I will not be making this video again. Number 1 is going to sound boring until you understand what is actually happening behind the scenes. Canned mackerel. Before you skip ahead thinking this is just another canned fish, listen to what a distribution manager with 23 years at a major grocery chain told me last month. Mackerel is being discontinued by 4 of the 6 largest U.S. grocery chains because the profit margin is too thin and the turnover is too slow. Final shipments are scheduled for March 2026. After that, you will only find it at specialty stores for triple the current price. Here is what nobody talks about. Mackerel has more omega-3s per ounce than salmon, costs a third as much, and lasts 5 years on the shelf. A single can has 18 grams of protein and all the healthy fat your body actually needs during stress. I opened a can from 2021 last week. Tasted perfect. No off smell, no metallic flavor, firm texture. Most people assume canned fish is just tuna or salmon, which means they ignore mackerel completely. During the last shortage cycle, I walked into 3 different stores where tuna was sold out but mackerel was fully stocked. I bought 40 cans for $62. Those same 40 cans of tuna would have cost me $140. Here's what I do. Drain the can, mix it with mayo, lemon juice, and black pepper. Put it on crackers or bread. Takes 4 minutes. You can also throw it into pasta or rice. Dead simple. A 4-pack costs $3.49 at most discount grocers right now. Meanwhile, preppers are spending $18 on freeze-dried salmon that tastes like cardboard and needs to be rehydrated. Mackerel is energy-dense, shelf-stable, and cheap. It also has bones in it, which sounds gross, but those bones are pure calcium. Most preppers have never even tried it, which means it survives panic buying every single time. Look, grocery prices are rising faster than most families can adjust their budgets. I have done the math for you and put together a free emergency pantry guide that lists the exact 20 items you must stock, all of which you can buy from any grocery store. It can feed a family of 4 for 2 weeks and costs less than a single weekend takeout order. You can grab it for free at the link in the description, so you can stop second-guessing yourself and start actually building a pantry that works. Number 2 is something I ignored for years until a power outage changed everything. Canned coconut milk, full fat, not the light stuff. Before you think this is just for Thai curry, here's the insight that blew my mind. Coconut milk is one of the only shelf-stable sources of saturated fat that does not require refrigeration and lasts 3 years unopened. Your brain is 60% fat. Your body cannot function without it. During a crisis, fat is the nutrient that disappears first because butter, cheese, and meat all need refrigeration. Coconut milk does not. I learned this during a 6-day winter storm in January 2023. No power, no heat, no way to keep anything cold. I had canned soup, rice, beans, but every meal felt hollow. Then I added half a can of coconut milk to a pot of rice. The difference was insane. Suddenly the food was satisfying. My body stopped craving snacks every hour. That fat kept me full and kept my brain working. Here's the mechanic. Add 2 tablespoons to your rice while it is cooking. Stir it into canned soup. Mix it into oatmeal. Use it as the base for any sauce. It turns cheap food into real food. A 13-ounce can cost $2.19 at Walmart right now. 1 can is 1,400 calories of pure energy. Compare that to a protein bar, which is 200 calories for $3 and tastes like chalk. Coconut milk is being phased out by several chains because it takes up too much shelf space and the demand is considered niche. Final March shipments, then it moves to specialty health stores where it will cost double. Most people see it and think exotic ingredient, not survival staple. That is exactly why it works. Number 3 is sitting in the international aisle where most Americans never go. Dried lentils, not canned, dried. I know this sounds like basic prepper advice, but here's what everyone gets wrong. Most people buy beans and then never eat them because beans take 2 hours to cook and need to be soaked overnight. Lentils do not, no soaking, 15 minutes on the stove and they are done. I have a shelf in my pantry with 9 bags of lentils that are 4 years old, still perfect. Lentils last 30 years if you store them in a sealed container with an oxygen absorber. They cost 98 cents per pound. 1 pound is 1,600 calories and 104 grams of protein. That same amount of protein from freeze-dried chicken costs $47. Here is the real story. During a 2-week quarantine in 2021, I ate lentils 6 days a week. I cooked them with rice, with canned tomatoes, with whatever vegetables I had. Never got tired of them because you can season them a dozen different ways. Curry powder one day, cumin and garlic the next, tomato paste and oregano after that. The texture changes depending on how long you cook them. 15 minutes and they are firm, 25 minutes and they break down into a thick stew. Here is what I do. Rinse 1 cup of dried lentils, put them in a pot with 3 cups of water, add salt, garlic powder and a bay leaf, simmer for 15 minutes, done. You can eat them plain, put them over rice or mash them into a spread. A 5-pound bag costs $4.89, that is 30 meals for less than $5. Major grocery chains are discontinuing bulk lentil bins because they require labor to maintain and most customers ignore them. Bagged lentils in the international aisle are next. Final shipments in March. After that, you will pay twice as much at health food stores. Most people have never cooked a lentil in their life, which means they will not panic buy them. That is your advantage. Number 4 is going to sound strange until you try it once. Nutritional yeast. Before you click away thinking this is vegan hippie food, hear me out. Nutritional yeast is deactivated yeast that tastes like cheese and is loaded with B vitamins. It does not need refrigeration, lasts 2 years in the pantry, and most people have never heard of it. Here is the insight. A 2 tablespoon serving has 8 grams of protein and contains 100% of your daily B12, which is the vitamin that keeps your nervous system working. During long-term stress, B12 is the first thing your body burns through. Deficiency causes brain fog, fatigue, and depression. You cannot get B12 from plants, and you cannot store it long-term unless you have a freezer. Nutritional yeast is the exception. I keep a container in my pantry that I bought in 2022. Still tastes perfect. Here's what nobody talks about. If you are eating rice and beans every day during a shortage, food monotony will destroy your morale faster than hunger. Nutritional yeast changes the flavor completely. Sprinkle it on popcorn and it tastes like cheese popcorn. Stir it into soup and it tastes creamy. Mix it with pasta and it tastes like mac and cheese without the cheese. I learned this during a camping trip when I forgot to pack cheese. Someone handed me a bag of nutritional yeast. I put it on scrambled eggs. Game changer. Here's the mechanic. Add 2 tablespoons to your rice while it is cooking. Sprinkle it on roasted vegetables. Stir it into mashed potatoes. It dissolves instantly and adds a rich, savory flavor. An 8-ounce bag costs $6.49 at Whole Foods, but you can get the same thing for $4.12 at VitaCost online. One bag lasts 3 months if you use it daily. Compare that to real cheese, which costs $7 per pound and spoils in 2 weeks. Nutritional yeast is being discontinued by mainstream grocery chains because it is considered a specialty health item with low turnover. After March, you will only find it at health food stores. Most preppers have never heard of this, which means it is always in stock. That is exactly what you want. Number 5 is something I used to walk past every single week. Canned tomato paste, not diced tomatoes, not sauce paste. Here is the difference. Tomato paste is concentrated. One small 6-ounce can has the flavor of 4 pounds of fresh tomatoes. It costs 87 cents. Canned diced tomatoes cost $1.50 and are 90% water. You are paying for water. Tomato paste lasts 18 months on the shelf and turns any bland meal into something your brain recognizes as real food. I learned this from a guy who ran a commercial kitchen for 12 years. He told me that tomato paste is the secret to every sauce, soup, and stew in a professional kitchen. You add 1 tablespoon and it deepens the flavor of everything. I tested this during a month where I challenged myself to eat only pantry food. I made rice with tomato paste, garlic powder, and olive oil. Tasted like Spanish rice. I made beans with tomato paste and cumin. Tasted like chili. I made pasta with tomato paste and dried basil. Tasted like marinara. All from one 79-cent can. Here is the mechanic. Open the can, scoop out 1 tablespoon, stir it into whatever you are cooking. The paste dissolves and turns the liquid red and rich. You do not need a recipe, you just need heat and something to stir. A 6-ounce can has 12 tablespoons. That is 12 meals. Most people buy marinara sauce in a jar for $3.49, use half of it and throw the rest away when it molds. Tomato paste does not mold if you store it right. After you open it, put the rest in a small container and cover the surface with a thin layer of olive oil. It lasts 2 weeks in the fridge, or you can freeze tablespoon-sized portions in an ice cube tray. Then you have individual servings that last 6 months. Major grocery chains are phasing out tomato paste in small cans because the profit margin is too low and customers are buying jarred sauces instead. Final shipments in March 2026. After that, you will pay twice as much at specialty stores or buy it in bulk online. Most people ignore it because they do not know how to use it. That is your edge. Number 6 is the single most underrated shelf-stable item in any grocery store. Canned pumpkin, pure pumpkin, not pie filling. Before you think this is just for Thanksgiving, let me show you what I figured out 3 years ago. Pumpkin is 70 calories per cup, loaded with vitamin A, high in fiber, and costs $1.19 per can. It lasts 3 years. You can eat it sweet or savory. I started using it after I read that vitamin A is critical for immune function and vision, and that deficiency is one of the fastest ways your health collapses during long-term stress. Fresh vegetables spoil. Frozen vegetables need power. Canned pumpkin does not care. I opened a can from 2020 last fall, tasted perfect. Here is the real story. During a week when I had no fresh food, I made pumpkin soup. I heated 1 can of pumpkin with 1 can of coconut milk, added salt, garlic powder, and black pepper. Blended it smooth. It tasted like restaurant soup. Another night I mixed pumpkin into oatmeal with cinnamon and honey, tasted like pumpkin pie. Another time I stirred it into pasta sauce. It added sweetness and made the sauce thicker. Here is the mechanic. Open the can, scoop out half a cup, stir it into soup, oatmeal, pancake batter, pasta sauce, or mashed potatoes. It dissolves completely and adds nutrients without changing the texture. A 15-ounce can cost $1.19 at Aldi. 1 can is 4 servings. Most preppers are spending $30 on freeze-dried vegetable kits that taste like paper and need to be rehydrated. Canned pumpkin is real food, cheap and versatile. It is being discontinued by several chains because demand is seasonal and the shelf space is worth more stocking items that sell year-round. Final March shipments. After that, it will be online only or specialty stores. Most people see it once a year in October and never think about it again. That is exactly why it works. Number 7 is something I kept hearing about but never tried until someone forced me to. Dried seaweed sheets, also called nari. I know this sounds weird, stay with me. Just 1 sheet of nari contains more iodine than most people get in an entire week. Iodine is critical for thyroid function, and thyroid controls your metabolism, energy, and mood. If your thyroid stops working, your entire body shuts down. Table salt used to provide iodine, but most people do not eat enough salt anymore, and sea salt does not have iodine. Nari does. A 10-pack costs $2.87 at H Mart or any Asian grocery store. Each sheet lasts 2 years if you keep it sealed. Here is the real story. During a power outage in 2022, I had rice and canned fish but no vegetables. I opened a pack of nari and tore a sheet into pieces. I threw the pieces into my rice while it was hot. The nari softened and added a salty ocean flavor. It turned plain rice into something interesting. Another time I used nari to wrap leftover rice and tuna into a hand roll. No utensils, no mess, you can eat it like a burrito. Here is the mechanic. Take 1 sheet of nari, tear it into small pieces, sprinkle it over rice, soup, or noodles, or use a whole sheet to wrap rice and protein like a taco. It is dead simple. A pack of 10 sheets costs less than $3. Compare that to fresh vegetables, which cost $5 and spoil in 4 days. Nari is a vegetable that lasts 2 years and weighs nothing. Major chains are discontinuing nari in the snack aisle because it is considered an ethnic product with niche demand. After March, you will only find it at Asian grocery stores or online. Most Americans have never bought nari unless they made sushi at home once. That is your advantage. It is always in stock. Number 8 is going to surprise you because it is hiding in plain sight. Canned evaporated milk, not condensed milk, evaporated. Here is the difference. Evaporated milk is just milk with 60% of the water removed. No sugar added. It lasts a year on the shelf and tastes like cream when you open it. Condensed milk is loaded with sugar and used for desserts. Evaporated milk is for everything else. I learned this from my grandmother, who grew up in the 1940s when refrigeration was not reliable. She used evaporated milk in coffee, in mashed potatoes, and soup, and scrambled eggs. She told me it was the only way to have milk that did not spoil. I tested this during a month when I avoided the grocery store. I used evaporated milk in my coffee every morning. Tasted richer than regular milk. I used it in a pot of mac and cheese. Tasted creamy and thick. I used it to make pancakes. Came out fluffy and golden. Here's the mechanic. Open the can, pour out what you need. If a recipe calls for 1 cup of milk, use half a cup of evaporated milk and half a cup of water, or use it straight if you want extra richness. A 12-ounce can cost $1.39. 1 can replaces 3 cups of regular milk. Most people buy regular milk for $4 per gallon and throw half of it away when it spoils. Evaporated milk does not spoil. It sits in your pantry for a year. Major grocery chains are reducing shelf space for evaporated milk because plant-based milk alternatives are taking over and younger customers do not know evaporated milk exists. Final shipments in March 2026. After that, it will be online or specialty stores only. Most preppers ignore it because they think powdered milk is the only option. Powdered milk tastes terrible and takes forever to mix. Evaporated milk tastes like real milk because it is real milk. That is your edge. Number 9 is the one I mentioned at the start, and it is absolutely critical. Canned corned beef, not the deli meat, the canned kind. Before you dismiss this as low-quality mystery meat, here's what changed my mind. Canned corned beef is pure protein and fat. A 12-ounce can has 48 grams of protein and enough calories to replace an entire meal. It lasts 5 years. It costs $3.69 per can at discount grocers. I opened a can from 2019 last year. Tasted salty and rich like deli corned beef. Here is the real story. During a week when I had no access to fresh food, I heated a can of corned beef with diced potatoes and onions. It tasted like hash. Another night I mixed it with rice and soy sauce. Tasted like fried rice with meat. Another time I spread it on bread with mustard. Tasted like a deli sandwich. The texture is firm, not mushy. You can slice it, chop it, or shred it. Here is the mechanic. Open the can. Slice the meat into cubes. Fry it in a pan until the edges get crispy. Add it to rice, potatoes, eggs, or noodles, or eat it straight from the can if you are in a hurry. A 12-ounce can costs $3.69 at grocery outlet or $3.99 at Walmart. One can is 2 full meals. Most preppers are spending $9 per pound on freeze-dried beef that tastes like cardboard and needs to be rehydrated. Canned corned beef is real meat, fully cooked and ready to eat. Major chains are discontinuing it because younger customers associate canned meat with low quality and the profit margin is too thin. Final shipments in March. After that, it will be online only or at specialty importers. Most people walk right past it because they have no idea what it is. That is exactly why it survives every shortage. Number 10 is something I started buying after a friend who works in food distribution told me to pay attention. Bouillon cubes, not the liquid broth in cartons, the cubes. Here is the insight. 1 bouillon cube dissolves in 2 cups of water and turns it into broth. A box of 24 cubes costs $2.49. One box makes 48 cups of broth. Compare that to liquid broth in a carton, which costs $3.49 for 4 cups and expires in 2 weeks once opened. Bouillon cubes last 3 years and take up almost no space. I have a drawer in my kitchen with 6 boxes that are 2 years old, still perfect. Here's what nobody talks about. Broth is the difference between food that feels like survival and food that feels like a meal. If you are eating plain rice every day, your morale collapses. Add 1 bouillon cube to the cooking water and suddenly the rice tastes savory and satisfying. Same with pasta, same with beans, same with vegetables. I learned this during a 2-week stretch where I ate only pantry food. I cooked everything in broth instead of water. The food tasted like it came from a kitchen, not a bunker. Here is the mechanic. Boil 2 cups of water, drop in 1 cube, stir until it dissolves. Use that liquid to cook rice, pasta, or vegetables, or drink it straight as soup. A box of 24 cubes costs $2.49 at any grocery store. 1 box is 12 meals. Most people buy cartons of broth, use half and throw the rest away when it spoils. Bouillon cubes do not spoil. Major chains are phasing out bouillon cubes because they are considered old-fashioned and younger customers buy liquid broth instead. Final shipments in March 2026. After that, you will pay twice as much online. Most preppers ignore bouillon cubes because they think it is just salt. It is not. It is the secret to making cheap food taste expensive. Number 11 is something I wish I had discovered years earlier. Canned chickpeas, also called garbanzo beans, not dried canned. Here is the difference. Dried chickpeas take 2 hours to cook and need to be soaked overnight. Canned chickpeas are already cooked. You open the can and they are ready to eat. A 15-ounce can has 12 grams of protein and costs 98 cents. It lasts 3 years. I have cans in my pantry from 2021, still perfect. Here is the real story. During a week when I had no fresh vegetables, I opened a can of chickpeas, drained the liquid and tossed them in olive oil, salt, and cumin. I roasted them in the oven for 20 minutes. They came out crunchy like nuts. I ate them as a snack. Another time I mashed chickpeas with lemon juice and garlic. It turned into hummus. Another time I threw them into soup. They added texture and protein. Here is the mechanic. Open the can, drain the liquid, rinse the chickpeas under cold water. Now you can eat them cold in a salad, heat them in soup, mash them into a spread or roast them for a snack. A 15-ounce can cost 98 cents at Walmart. 1 can is 2 servings. Most preppers are buying expensive freeze-dried meals for $8 per serving. Canned chickpeas are 50 cents per serving and taste better. Major chains are discontinuing canned chickpeas in some regions because they are considered a specialty item, and the shelf space is worth more stocking mainstream beans. Final March shipments. After that, you will find them only at health food stores or ethnic grocers. Most people have never opened a can of chickpeas in their life. That is your advantage. Number 12 is the last one, and it is a game changer. Canned sardines, not the ones in mustard sauce, the ones in olive oil. Before you say sardines are disgusting, here's what I learned from a guy who grew up on the coast of Portugal. Sardines are one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. 1 can has 23 grams of protein, omega-3s, calcium from the bones, and vitamin D. It costs $2. It lasts 5 years. I opened a can from 2020 last month. Tasted clean and rich, not fishy. Here is the real story. During a power outage in winter 2023, I had no way to cook meat. I opened a can of sardines and ate them straight from the can with crackers. They were satisfying in a way that canned soup was not. The fat kept me full for hours. Another time I mashed sardines with lemon juice and put them on toast. Tasted like a fancy appetizer. Another time I tossed them into pasta with olive oil and garlic. The sardines broke apart and coated the pasta like a sauce. Here's the mechanic. Open the can. Drain most of the oil if you want or keep it for extra calories. Eat the sardines straight, put them on crackers, toss them into pasta or rice or mash them into a spread. A single can cost $1.99 at Trader Joe's or $2.49 at most grocery stores. 1 can is a full meal. Most people think sardines are gross because they tried them once from a gas station and the quality was terrible. Good sardines taste completely different. Major chains are discontinuing certain sardine brands because the import costs have gone up and the profit margin is too thin. Final shipments in March 2026. After that, you will pay double online or at specialty shops. Most Americans have never bought sardines, which means they are always available during shortages. That is exactly what you want. While everyone else is fighting over the same tired list of pasta and canned soup, you now know 12 items that are cheaper, easier to store, and will actually still be available when the panic buying starts. These are not guesses. These are items I have used, tested, and watched survive every shortage cycle for 9 years. Most of them will be gone from mainstream grocery stores after March 2026, but right now they're sitting on shelves waiting for someone smart enough to recognize what they are worth. Drop a comment telling me which of these you are going to stock up on first. Next week I am revealing the 7 tools everyone thinks are essential for emergencies, but are actually worthless in a real crisis. One of them is sold in every outdoor store and fails within the first hour of use. Trust me, you do not want to miss that one.